Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the new media show. A little bit of a late start. Rob's alarm clock didn't go off, and of course, Rob, I'm the one that had to get up at 4:45.
No, you did. It's not fair, Todd. It's just not fair.
But one more show here in the studio, and then the studio gets tore down. So we'll be here one more time for live video on Saturday of next week, and then it'll be. I don't leave. Well, let's see. We're looking at the calendar here, just so everybody knows. We're going to do a live show on the 18th. That'll be the last one in this office. And by the way, I was looking up our stats, and we hit 9 years in August doing this show.
Really?
Yeah.
9 years?
9 years. We started in 2010, August of 2010. But it started out with the, Saturday Morning Tech Show, but it still was mostly about podcasting. 10 years doing one form of this show or the other. But anyway, the 25th of May, I'll be able to do a audio only show. And then June 1st, I fly to Michigan. So I may, if everything goes right, if some of the gear arrives, I may be able to do a semi-quasi live show on the 8th, but it's going to be really bare bones. So we'll see. But, matter of fact, I'm packing the rest of the studio out today, and everything you can see here doesn't get packed, but everything else does. So I'm just about ready to go.
Wow. All right. Changes are happening.
Yes, it is. So lots of change, lots of things happening in the podcasting world. Congratulations, by the way. I see Voxnest got their IB certification.
Yep, we did. I was going to mention that. Plus one other company.
Oh, yeah, Art19 as well.
Yes.
So it makes me go, just a little bit on that. So what about Spreaker? I saw someone announce that Spreaker wasn't included. It was only Voxnest numbers.
Well, Voxnest is the back-end metrics for Spreaker.
Oh, so okay.
The Voxnest audience network is the metrics that shows up in the Spreaker tools.
Okay, all right, good. And we actually saw some email flying back and forth between the auditors, and they're having, I can't say. So there's some folks missing from this round. I'm surprised Libsyn didn't get finished.
Yeah, well, these things
are painful.
As you know, Todd, they're an all hands on deck type of, making sure that all the dots are.
It's absolutely painful.
Are given and T's are cross,
So it's May, and you guys started in when? January?
Yeah, something like that.
So, yeah, people didn't. So now, I guess some other. Thanks for joining the front lines with the M1 tank. We're ready.
Right.
So the question,
or a big target on our back.
Yeah.
Which one it is, right?
So the question is, does Art19 have their switch set so that all shows are on a 24-hour window?
That's an interesting question, Todd.
It is an interesting question. And if the Art19 folks are listening, I'd like to know, do you still allow your podcasters to switch a different window from 24 hours?
Yeah.
And if they do, why? Why? So
doesn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose of having a metric standard if it's optional?
Yeah, so it shouldn't be optional, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, right.
We're getting ready to roll some new stuff out too. We're going to roll out a week from, I think next Tuesday. Of course, Evangel's not ready. He's missed his deadline, but we're going to give all of our pro hosting customers partial download data. So this is something, a new metric they've never seen before. Our enterprise customers have for years, but so we're kind of excited about that. We're going to roll it out until July. We're going to give them a free trial until July 1st and see what they think of it. So
that's great, Todd.
Yeah. So everything continues to move just like anything else. But boy, oh boy, Google.
I know, yeah.
So let me see here. New media show. And what do we come up with? Isn't that lovely? Let me try the new media show.
Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing. Let's try new media show podcast. We're sucking here. Oh, there it is. If I call it the new media show, see, this herein lies the concern, not the concern. For those of you that aren't aware, at Google I/O, they announced that they were going to include podcasting as native search results. Oh shit! I used it wrong. As I'm on Firefox, I got to show the right browser. So they said that they were going to include Google or podcast search results natively in Google search.
Right.
Essentially making podcasts a first-class citizen. So I did New Media Show, which is really the name of the show. We don't call it the New Media Show podcast, but it comes up with New Media Show podcasting, YouTube, New Media, newmediashow.com. And that's my normal for the website. And then below that, New Media Show on Apple Podcasts. So some shows are showing up with New Media Show on, and it references their home site. But the large majority of shows are showing up as Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts, right.
So Google is promoting Apple Podcast in their search results. What a kick in the teeth.
Huh.
I don't get it. I don't understand. If someone figures out the secret sauce here on how some shows are list their homepage and not their Apple Podcast listing, please tell me, because I've been doing dozens of searches. I went and looked at, like 20 shows that were their.com, and these were all PowerPress users for, I'm looking at them and say, okay, it shows their website. Here's the thing. It's about branding for me. I guess in the end, it doesn't matter, but if they show the podcast in the search results, I don't want them to go to podcast.apple.com if they click on that link, because if they do, there's no link back to Geek News or newmediashow.com on the new. See, if I click on this, let's go over to Apple and bring it up. There's no way to find out where the show resides. There's no link back to the home page.
Right.
It's going to be very important as these search results start having an impact on listening to really be promoting where your show's at. But some of the listings in Google search come up as newmediashow.com and has the same search result like this. Now, if I go to more episodes, it brings up the Google Podcast page. And once again, none of these lead back to my website. Oh, wait, it does. When I click on an episode, it's because I've got the link in there. I've got a link back to my website on the episode. But other than that, there's no way to find that Todd and Rob's show here is at newmediashow.com. So this irritates me immensely.
Yeah.
I mean, really irritates me, because what are you finding with Spreaker shows? Are you finding them listed on Apple Podcasts, or are they coming up as Spreaker?
Actually, the Spreaker Live show doesn't even come up as a link to any of these.
Really?
So
let me do this Spreaker. Let me do the Spreaker Live podcast and see what we come up with. I bet it shows up there. It doesn't. Wow.
No, it's not. It's not showing up as a link to any of them.
So if I Google Geek News Central, of course my website is number 1 in the ranking. It is. So so let me. I should have done this in an incognito window, but let me flip this again for those that are watching. So geeknewscentral.com, as the search results comes up, says about contacts, found by Geek News Central on YouTube. And then it finds Geek News Central on Apple Podcast and recent episodes. So, but it lists the podcast.apple. Why is it not listing my website where my RSS feed originates?
Yeah.
Some shows it does. So again, for people that I've been, in those shows that I said, okay, is it because I've got a relationship link more than one for the RSS feed in my feed? Because I do. So I went and looked at some of these shows that have, so it's got to be a combination of template. So I've been deciphering piece by piece by piece, going and looking at each of these shows that actually have the search result come up as their website, not Apple. And I've been trying to figure out and at this point I haven't been able to figure. That's why I asked you for Josh's email. I want to email him and say, hey, what's going on here? Why are you promoting Apple when the authority for my show is my website?
Mm-hmm. Well, you are showing up in the number one search result,
of course, because I
versus Apple, but still, if a person clicks on it, right?
Yeah, and if I search for Geek News Central podcast, then if I add podcast to the search result, it doesn't change it. It's still the same, and even my video show shows up on Google search now. So I don't know, Rob. I think this is good because people are going to be able to click and play right there when they happen. Because, I've been big on SEO for years. And matter of fact, just had some tweaks done to my site last week that helped on the mobile speed, the page loads. And we're doing some more stuff because I'm watching where I'm hovering at in different search results. And so for me, I'm baffled. I truly am. I'm baffled why Google has indexed Apple and made it the authority. You would think that they would not want to do that just because they're Google.
Well, I think that Google is probably being sensitive to some antitrust potential issues here when if they start linking just to their own properties.
Link to my property.
No, I understand what you're saying, but linking to the Google Podcasts area, if they start prioritizing Google Podcast search results, then it looks like that they're showing bias towards search results, right?
Right.
So I think this gets back to philosophical, directional concerns that Google has towards offering the most relevant results, right?
Yeah.
So, and what is the number one biggest podcast consumption platform? It's Apple, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So from a relevancy orientation towards search results, I can see why Apple is listed there. And that is probably the reason why that's happening. Now, granted, Google needs to figure out how they're going to integrate their search results in here.
Yeah.
Which I don't believe that they've figured that out yet.
Well, the thing is, if you search on the Android phone,
right,
it comes up as your it's a different result on mobile. Right. It's not Apple Podcasts. It's my show on Geek News Central that people subscribe to. So why is there a difference? If I'm on mobile and I'm searching for new media show, I find the actual show that's tied to my RSS feed. Right. So they're doing something different in desktop search. So I appreciate that they've got one more step to go. They need to put an audio link at the top of the Google search results.
Right.
Then we can dance the jig. But I don't like giving up branding as a personal podcaster. I'll take the listing. I'm looking at gift horse in the mouth, right?
Right.
But I'll take it so people can easily play my show. But like yours, you can't even find yours. Why can't you find yours?
Well, it's there. It's just a little further down the page.
Oh, the player is? The episodes?
No. The link to the Apple Apple page.
Oh, so let's go Spreaker Live again. Let's look at that.
It's actually Spreaker Live Show podcast.
See, this is where naming is going to be real critical.
Right.
Yeah, but I do Spreaker Live Show podcast, and I get no player in here. Yeah, there's nothing.
Right. Well, okay, you can get to the Spreaker Live Show on Apple down there, but it's further down the page.
Right. Not in my search. Oh, yeah, it's there.
Yeah,
but how come
below the, kind of below
the fold? It's 10. So why isn't why isn't your show listed there?
It could be, Todd. It gets back to relevancy. That show gets an awful lot of plays on the Spreaker platform, and maybe that's where a lot of the traffic is going off of the Spreaker platform.
Okay, that's cool. But show me you have an RSS feed on the Spreaker Live site.
Sure.
So why isn't it tagging that and bringing up those audio results? There's a lot of podcasters pissed off. They can't figure it out.
Right.
It's just either they're listed or they're listed to Apple Podcast. And then those of you that are doing search results for your show and it comes up with your domain name, backflips, my friends. And I just want to be frank with anyone. Bounty time. Figure out how this is being listed. Someone unlock this thing, and figuring out what signals Google's looking for on the web page. So let me look at. Okay, let's look at what is it called? The feed that Libsyn.
Yeah. Well, Todd, I was just also looking at just typing in the name of the show, right? New Media Show.
Yeah.
And Spreaker Live Show without any kind of additional terminology.
Right. It doesn't come up
or anything like that. Yep. I mean, it still comes up. It just doesn't come up with the functionality.
So if I search the feed, now look what we've got here. The feed.libsyn.com. And I know they don't have an external site for the feed at Libsyn. Right. So here, it doesn't have the Apple Podcast listing. It has the feed.libsyn.com. Now, if I'm a podcaster at Libsyn and I have my own website, and all of a sudden my show starts showing up at the .libsyn version of your show, I think I would be pissed. But I know that this show at Libsyn is on Libsyn, but it's the 10th search result. Let me do the feed podcast.
Yeah.
So it's a little higher, but look at this. It's a different show. It's a Chicago chef restaurateur, Rick. So I have to go the feed Libsyn podcast. And there it is. It's at the top.
Podcast 1 was listed there, it looked like.
Let me back up. It's podcast.apple.com. But yeah, there's podcast 1, the feed podcast, right? Isn't that funny? So that's where that chef. So it's all about the semantics of the search results. The feed. So if I type in the feed Libsyn podcast, well, people are going to know. No one's going to discover the Libsyn feed. It's just like, I think about my site. If I go back and I just do geek news, I do dominate some of the search results, but I'm nothing for my podcast. But if I do geek news podcast, then boom, I'm there. So what we really want here, this is discovery.
Right.
We want our shows discovered. So here's something I was trying. So I said, okay, I did my latest episode and it's entitled Amazon's Treatment of Pregnant Women. Actually, it isn't the last episode because I recorded 1366 Thursday night. So this has not updated. Let me go look and see if it's updated on Apple Podcast. I go over to Apple Podcast, and yes, it's updated here. I'm already at 1366, but the Google search result is only showing 1365. So let's look at episode 1365, and let me search for the title of that show, Amazon's Treatment of Pregnant Women. Let me just paste that in. And the goal, and if I look at this, okay, I'm very happy where the episode's ranked. the episode is ranked 1, 2, 3. It's ranked number 3 in search results. This is what a podcaster wants. But do I add the word podcast and do we see the results? Nope, nothing changes. So it goes to number 1 now, but I don't see audio there. There's no audio link. So the ultimate goal is we want our episode titles in the search results at Google to show the player. Because this gives if someone's going to type in Amazon's treatment of pregnant women, and I come up number 3, and there's a player button there, done. We won. I mean, that means that's huge. And then it's a race to making sure people have the right. You do your show notes well, do your titles well. I've always won from a search result standpoint for my titles for my episodes, but it just needs one more additional step. We need the player in there because they know it's a podcast. So they're close.
Yeah, I think with the big thing is adding that word podcast to the end of the show name.
Yeah.
That is not an intuitive thing that every searcher is going to know to actually do.
No.
So most of them are just going to type the name of the show. Right. So I mean, even with this show, they're probably going to type the New Media Show. Is probably what they're going to do.
But we've changed all the branding to New Media Show, not the New Media Show.
Right, but what happens when we type in the New Media Show?
It's fine.
It still goes to us.
It does.
So that's good, but it doesn't come up with a player.
No, it doesn't. But you have to add the word podcast.
Right.
And it's there. So the New Media Show podcast is found. Let's see if it's New Media Show podcast is found. It is.
Yeah.
So New Media Show. So if you add the word podcast, but I don't care about. That's not the win.
Well, and we as an industry discourage people from adding the word podcast to the end of their show.
Right. Now you better. Right. At least in the intern while.
Right. Does this mean that we need to add the word podcast to the title of our show? I mean, for this show, we have New Media Show - podcasting.
YouTube and New Media.
YouTube and New Media, right? Maybe that's one of the reasons why we do come up in here.
Yeah. But the website shows up number 1, which is what we want. But right followed below that is this beautiful New Media Show on Apple Podcast. I'm not complaining. Well, I am.
Well, we are and we aren't at the same time.
Right. So it's close. If I could just figure out how to get that New Media Show on newmediashow.com to show up, backflips. And then I'm happy with step 1. And step 2 is, all right, Google, let's go for the episodes. You get the episodes done. Treat us like an equal class citizen of YouTube results. So let's.
Plus, Todd, I was just going to say right below is a reference to the video side.
Right. So let me go over to YouTube and let me grab. Okay, Casey Neistat, big YouTuber. If anybody's index, he's going to be. He says, "I'm leaving New York City forever." That's the title of his latest episode.
Right.
So how long has this been out? It came out yesterday. So let me go over and let me type in this title of this episode. And what do we have? Look at this. This is how it's different. This is what I'm talking about. Whoops. What is it? Casey Neistat revised ways leaving New York. Videos. I'm leaving New York forever. I'm leaving New York forever. He is right there. Top of the page. Title of an episode on YouTube. This is what we want.
Right.
We want the same. Now, okay, let me go, and maybe that's not fair. Let me go back and let me pick I've been watching this guy that does, he's living up in Canada, and medium following of YouTubers. And let's see here. Let me bring back to the screen while I'm doing this. And let me... He's got a pretty good title here, so let me take part of it. The Off-Grid Cabin Sauna. So let me. That's kind of a unique. So let me grab this again. Let's and do the search. And I'm waiting for Google. So again, this dude he's owning the search results for that.
Oh yeah,
he owns it. So let me see if I can get Log Cabin Sauna. Let's just see where he ranks on that. Well, not so well. But no, right there, boom. He's in videos right at the top of the search results after all the advertisements. So this is where we need to be.
Hey Todd.
Yeah.
Go back to your search results. I don't know if you actually clicked on an episode, but go back to New Media Show podcast.
Okay, so new. Can't type here.
Because I just clicked on one of the episodes that are listed under New Media Show on Apple Podcasts.
Okay.
Click on the Luminary launch Insanity. Pull it up on the screen.
Okay, I'll put it. Here's the screen. Now, what do you want me to do? You want me to press the player?
Press the play button there, right next to Luminary launch Insanity.
It goes
see what happens.
It goes to Google Podcast. Wow.
That's not what you expected.
No, I expected it to be on Apple Podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that curious?
Yeah.
So the search result shows Apple, but the play shows Google Podcast.
But maybe they are two different areas. It only looks like it's part of Apple Podcasts.
If I click on more episodes, of course, it takes me to the entire Google Podcast listing. But yet no damn link back to my website, SOBs.
Yeah. Well, that's something that's easy to fix, but
yeah, we have to complain.
Right. Well, we are.
Josh.
Yes. Well.
Oh, and it's trying to play now. I don't need to play it here. Let me pause that.
Right.
See, and it also shows the Trusted Voices of Podcasting number 244 that I posted, but it didn't show it in the search results. Again, the search engine's behind, even though Google Podcasts is up to date.
Right.
So, are you guys? I'm kind of giddy about this a little bit, to be quite frank, because
I don't think all of the shows are showing up like this yet, though.
No, but I'm gonna tell you what it's going to create, Rob. This is what it's going to create. It's going to create a tremendous number of throwaway shows where people are creating titles to game SEO.
Well,
so if I wanted to start,
been going on for a while now, hasn't it?
Well, let's think about it. This is even more sinister. So let's say I want to. What's the advertiser out there that's real popular right now? Okay, so let's just say let's say Geico.
Right.
I could do a podcast now. Launch a podcast called the Geico Information Podcast, or the unofficial Geico podcast. See where I'm going here? And what could I have? Some episodes there. And what could those episodes be? Ads.
Right.
And I would, just by the pure simplicity of people searching for Geico podcasts, they probably would find that show.
Right.
and say, what's this? The Unofficial Geico Podcast. Let me listen to it. Hey, if you want to save 15% on, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to see more of this, and ultimately, well, the question then is Google going to apply the same logic it does to scammy websites to scammy and spammy podcast?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Anchor's got a whole pile of scammy, spammy podcasts. They're nothing but just SEO plays to promote shit. Sorry, I'm swearing here this morning. By the way, I'm 13 days into the worst head cold I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
Oh my God. Just absolutely kicked my butt. And I'm feeling better, but oh my goodness. 20 years. I don't think I've had a head cold. I can't even remember the last time I had a head cold like this. Heat went out when in my hotel room in Columbus. I didn't want to move hotels because of we're having meetings there. And it was a bad move. I should have moved out. Made me sick as a dog.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, you don't want to hear about my flu. So that therein lies the thing on this Google search. So those of you that investigators out there, I need you to start sleuthing, because I've done everything. I turned Angela on to. I said, you need to go look at this, figure out why, and and we need to email Josh and say why. What is how do I say this is the master? I own this show. How do I claim that so that it doesn't show up as Apple Podcasts? I don't care if it plays on the Google Player, but I want it to say New Media Show on newmediashow.com.
But Todd, I think it's really interesting, though, that Google made the choice to make that search result look like it was an Apple search result.
I wonder what Apple's having to say about that.
Yeah.
It is pretty slick what they did there.
Yeah. Because I would think that they would want to have a separate delineation from that. That would say Google Podcasts or something like that. But then again, that gets back into that showing favoritism on the part of Google.
Yeah. I keep saying Josh. It was Zach at Google we need to reach out to. Yeah.
Right.
So thank you for a correction there on YouTube, Hasa Film TV. He says, Spreaker Live show iTunes shows Google Play buttons. I didn't see that. James Crinland brought this up on Pod News. Hopefully Zach would take note and respond. ATP Podcast also shows up on ATP's domain along with the functionality. Links do show on the Android Google Podcast app, which is the default of the play buttons for more. So this is basically what someone's saying in YouTube.
Well, Todd, if you're doing these search results probably on a Chrome browser on Android, you're probably going to get a little different results than doing it on either Windows in the Chrome or Mac.
Let me try. I'm on a Mac. Let me try Firefox and see what we get here.
Or Chrome. Have you been using Chrome? Or
I use Chrome. Yeah, Chrome is my primary browser. So New Media Show, it's same result on Firefox. Looks exactly the same. And the true test really is, folks, is if you do this a dozen times, Google gets signaled that you're looking at your results. Do this in an incognito window. So let me do an incognito window.
Right.
And that really shows you what? Okay, new private window. So let me do it again.
What a non-logged in user
would
see. Because each of us do see different search results based on our login.
So in the incognito window, it looks the same.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, so let me try another show.
On a Mac, though.
Yeah, on a Mac. So again, same results for Geek News. Yeah, same exact results.
But since neither of us have an Android device to look at,
I do, but the key is I have an Android phone, and that's what I was saying earlier. on my Android phone, the results come up as Geek News Central. It finds the Google Podcast listing on mobile.
Right.
And I can make the short code added to my screen. So they're definitely treating mobile search results different than desktop. But here's, we're crying and complaining.
Right.
This is a huge step. I don't care where they listen, as long as they listen. Right. And I'm going to start watching now. I took a baseline last week of my past 5 episodes to see where the browser listing share was, and then I'm going to start tracking it for the next couple of months to see if we can prove that there was any uptick. But there's no way to subscribe. None of these make it easy to subscribe like standard podcast subscriptions.
Right. So that paradigm, Todd, is fading a little bit right now.
Well,
if you think about it,
they can say it's going to fade, but subscribe is still key to long-term listener engagement. I don't care what anybody says. If people just play, they are not a dedicated P1. They are not the people just don't go search for a show to listen to the latest episodes. They don't. If someone is doing that, and if you listen to this show, and the only way you listen to new episodes on someone's podcast is you search on your phone for the show and you hit play, please tell me I'm wrong. And I want to hear from younger folks, 18 to 25. How are you? Are you subscribing or not? So
I would say, Todd, that word subscribe is being associated with paid models more and more.
Okay, well, subscribe is being vilified the same way as downloads being vilified. They all kiss my butt.
Yeah.
So I see the tea leaves, I see the little articles, the little jabs they're doing. We have to hold pure. We don't care how they listen. Let's agree to that. But I think for longevity of shows and to build audience, subscribe is key.
Yeah, I just popped on the Luminaries page.
Wow.
And I noticed there's nowhere in here they're using the term subscribe.
Of course. Yeah.
No, but when I say using the term subscribe, I'm talking about in reference to signing up for premium show bundles, right? So the whole concept of subscribe, it does kind of live in this area in Apple Podcasts.
Every podcast app, you subscribe.
Right.
No one's changed that. So it's one of those likes a thing where the NRA gun owner is saying you can pry my gun out of my dead hands. Well, you can pry the subscribe button out of my dead hands.
Okay, yeah. Peel those fingers back.
That's right. Take that away from me.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Again, what Google has done here is big, but I need that audio link up there at the top of the Google search results. Gimme.
Well, Todd, I would like to know, are we seeing a growth in people actually clicking on those play search results?
We have to find
or not.
We're going to have to see. It's new. It's been out a week.
Right. Well, no, Google's been displaying
on mobile
for a while.
On mobile.
On mobile, correct.
But desktop, people are doing, I almost bet you the majority of search is probably done on a desktop.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong. I know some people, they only live on their mobile phones, so I could be wrong here, but
yeah.
Ultimately, again, we just have to continue to keep the mantra that we don't care how they listen, as long as they listen. Subscribe, play, I don't care. But I'm going to tell the audience to subscribe every episode.
So what is actually going to move the needle when it comes to Google and Android? I mean, what is going to be that one breakthrough capability or feature that Google can add to the platform that will, make Android a comparable and fully competitive platform to Apple Podcasts?
I think two things. They still have to have a dedicated app delivered with. I think that's number one.
Right.
Number two, give me the same type of search results for episodes in Google, so that when I search for that, what did I use? It was Amazon's treatment of pregnant women or whatever. When that shows up in the search results, that episode has a play button by it. That, in my opinion, would, because people, okay, so as an example, that was the lead-in story for my podcast. So I started my episode. I said, I'm going to talk about, these are the 4 top items I'm going to talk about tonight, plus all the other news. So someone that is a pregnant woman at Amazon that's having trouble in their fulfillment centers with being forced to stand on their feet longer, walk stairs, lift more than 20 pounds, they're going to want to know what I think about what Amazon's doing to them. And they're going to play the show. Right. Now, that's a small number. Okay, so that is what is that? How many women work in Amazon fulfillment centers? We don't know. Tens of thousands, I would assume. And I would assume a percentage of those women are pregnant. And Amazon has a horrible history of treating pregnant women in their fulfillment centers. So they're going to be searching for information. So that's just one topic.
Right.
Now, when you have 100 episodes and there's 100 different topics and people across the globe are searching for that topic and they find your show, a percentage of them will subscribe if they know how to or are told to do so.
Right.
It plays right back into my continued beating of people saying, if you don't have a subscribe button on the homepage of your website, you are an idiot. Because when people land on your homepage, there was a small percentage of them that have found you randomly will say, wow, this guy's got a podcast, subscribe. It might be 1 in 100, but if you have 100,000 page loads a day,
yeah, that adds up.
It adds up. Or 1 in 1,000 over day after day after day after day. So, to me, Google is the 800-pound gorilla. Google.com is that I think will drive the needle. But we just need a couple more things.
And secondarily to this, where does Google Play Music fit into all this?
Does that still exist?
It is. I'm on it right now, looking at it.
How do you even find a listing on Google Play Music?
Actually, do a search for Google Play Podcast.
Oh, okay. No one does that.
No. I'm just saying, pull it up. I mean, okay. It's still a thing, right? Yep. You can publish there. I'm just really curious as you look at Google's kind of bigger strategy here. What are they trying to do here? You've got Google Podcasts and you've got Google Play. Google Play is their media consumption area, right? Where they sell movies, TV shows, music, all that stuff on their platform. It's a content platform, right? Not unlike Zune or Apple Podcasts or anything like. I mean, not Apple Podcasts, but iTunes. Apple Music, Apple Music, all that stuff. It's the Google comparable thing, right?
Well, if you look right here, guess what? They've got a subscribe, unsubscribe, share.
Right.
So
it's a leading question, right?
It is, but no one's on this.
No, I understand that, but it is still here,
okay.
Right? It's still. And it makes me wonder if Google has a long-term plan here.
I think what it is, Rob, is that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But maybe.
I don't know. I mean, is Google Podcasts the only play here, or the only optional play? I'm just throwing it out here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Granted, Google Play Music Podcasts is kind of a confusing thing, right?
Yeah.
there is no branding that I've seen out there. This Google Play podcast per se. When you go to this place, it says podcasts in Google Play Music.
Right.
So what if Google decided to really have a Google Play podcast area? Is this something that would be mapped to Google Podcasts?
If they make the hookup, then it will. But if they don't, it's going to be two separate entities.
Right. And which doesn't make any sense to have two separate things on their platform. What they need to do is integrate these things together. Now, granted, there's some basic things that Google Play Music podcasts are doing that they should not be doing anymore. And that's caching episodes and limiting the distribution of this to just the US, I believe. So, it is curious to me from a big company perspective. I mean, I used to work at Microsoft. I used to work on that these things exist still. It would be very easy for them to have either folded this into Google Podcasts or to have shut it down. And it's curious to me that they have not.
Yeah. So we know that Google has been indexing or doing transcripts internally. They've been transcripting podcasts for a while.
Right.
So I got to thinking about this a little bit. I got to thinking about how Google is Google. So my show that I do on Geek News Central is very segmented. And if an AI is examining transcripts, what triggers the AI to say this is a new segment of content?
Right.
So my thought is, do podcasters now, as they're creating content, need to think a little bit about Google taking that transcript and potentially using it in the future as metadata to give better search results for a specific episode? So if they do, for example, all right, if we were organized here, Rob, when you segued into Google Podcasts, we would say something like, new topic, the Google Podcast effect on the new Google search results, or something to that effect, something definitive, and then start the conversation.
It'd be audio segmenting the content.
Right. Are we going to have to, or is podcasters going to have to audio segment and be very distinct in their transitions, so that the dumb AI, which is really dumb programming at this time, will say, oh, I think they just switched topics. Here's the new topic. Here's the next 500 words, what they said about that.
Right.
There's the contextual information I'm going to put into the search algorithm.
Todd, you're creating content to cater to another Alexa.
So what?
I don't know that that's good for podcasting.
Well, I think it can be. Well,
I know.
It's if we want to. I've always said you do your show for your audience. You do your show notes for Google, but if we can figure out a slick way to do it that doesn't sound robotic,
right?
Can we help trigger the AI to give our episode a better page rank on that particular topic, even when it's linked in? See, it has to correspond to a link in the show notes.
Todd, I can already see your brain is looking for some angle to game the search results.
Yeah, I am, absolutely. This is what this is all about. It's about gaming Google. So let me, let's take this a little bit further. Okay, so
right.
See if Kirk got the show notes updated. I'm going to load the page. He hasn't on that episode, so let me go back and look at 1364. So if you look at something I do in my show notes, okay, so let's bring up the page. So Google has indexed our transcript, right?
Right.
now in my show notes, what Google is going to, they're going to go through and index this. They will know that I have a time hack tied to a topic. So can that correspond? Can that help? I'm just looking at every angle. So 11 minutes and 27 seconds, Amazon fired these 7 pregnant women. It ties into the title of my episode. So if they index and I started talking about Amazon fired these 7 pregnant women in the show, it's all signaling of what's in the content. So maybe I'm going too far here, but I'm trying to think like a Google engineer and what they would say. What do we want to signal on? And how do we feed the beast, the Google.com beast, for relevancy and authority? And why should we give this a particular segment a ranking, or this episode? Why should it rank number 2 on the search results now?
Right.
Why? So I already proven that this episode was ranked number 2 when it's revolving around Amazon's treatment of pregnant women. How many people on this listening to this show actually Google your titles of your episodes to see where they rank? I give them about 5 days and I look.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm kind of playing with this, because if they're going to do this, let's light it up. Let's use every trick in the book we can to help with discovery without sacrificing show content.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you think, doesn't it, a little bit?
Yeah. You kind of see where this stuff is potentially going. I mean, I can think of all sorts of ways that this whole thing could move.
Go. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the direction it goes can be a little unpredictable here. But
yeah. But one thing to remember: what Google giveth, Google can taketh away. It's like the 10 Commandments. It's the 11th. What Google giveth, Google can take away. So if you are penalized at some point, it's a malware on your website, you put a bad link into someone, and all of a sudden you're no longer, Google thinks you're no longer an authority.
Right.
That's a serious, I've had to deal with that before. It's a 60-day climb out of a hole.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll see. We beat a dead horse here. I'm sure I've made some people's brains explode. I hope I have.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff to think about with this and the direction that it's going, and it's not really 100% clear how this is all gonna work out.
And Zach's not going to be able to give too much detail, but maybe we can drop a idea in his ears.
Well, we should try and get him back on.
Yeah.
At some point to talk about as much as he can talk about. Hey, on another topic, I did notice that the Academy of Podcasters website has been down for the last couple months. Have you noticed that?
I know Dan knows it's down. I think I know what the issue is, and they're trying to resolve it.
Yeah.
So, but it's about time for nominations to start for
right
the new round. So I hope that they, Dan, are you listening? Jared, let's get that fixed.
Right.
Because us Hall of Famers don't have a Hall of Fame to call home to.
We're orphaned Hall of Famers here. No,
that's funny. Another thing too is, boy, oh boy, I think Luminary, we smacked them down pretty hard. Right. And got some feedback from people like, wow, you guys came off the WWE top rope. And but I think Luminary listened. Yeah,
I think so. I talked to some of their leadership over there, and they definitely heard the roar. Not all from us. They heard it from a lot of other corners of the podcasting industry. So
did they comment on our commentary?
Mainly yours.
Oh. Please indulge. Tell me what they thought of my commentary.
Well, it was more about you pulling all your shows from the platform.
My personal shows.
That's what they really care about is people that pull their content from their platform is what really gets their attention. So,
but what did I say during the show? If they straighten their act up, I'll put them back on, right?
Right.
So they're pretty close.
I would say so.
You know, and their tone has changed. I think it had to change. I think they got some PR help in there, or someone on high said, "Hey, you need to fix this."
Yeah.
But good, so maybe they're, I'm honestly, Rob, let's be frank. I'm glad they listened.
Yeah.
And we can just, wish them well and hope that everything continues to move for them. Right. I think they have a big uphill battle to, a long road to hoe. But, if you look at all the big boys that pulled out of it, well, what it's definitely going to do is give the indie podcasters that are over there some more exposure.
Right.
Because it's not going to be the same 5 characters or same 10 shows.
Well, Todd, the other side to it too is that we welcome Luminary to a special club that we've been through this before with, right? Those that came into this medium without really paying attention to the podcast community typically pay a price, and this is what happens when you don't understand the medium that you're getting into.
Next time, $50,000 consulting bill. I'll take care of you for 3 days.
Right.
Did they laugh about us saying we would consult for them?
Well, they didn't talk specifically about that, but yeah, I did wish them well, and I wanted to be supportive of them and do what we can to help. But it probably would have been a good idea to talk to some folks in the industry.
Yeah.
Now, granted, that's not always how companies work. They typically want to keep everything under their hat until they're ready to announce it.
Yep.
But there's things such as NDAs that can be obtained.
But what's else is crickets that's going on is you haven't heard too much about Himalaya. Very quiet about Himalaya. Haven't heard anything from them. But what do you think about this pod fund? I have a very distinct opinion about this, but
I bet you do, Todd.
I'd love to hear your thought on taking $25,000 to $50,000 investment in your show for a piece.
I would say that it's an idea that on its surface sounds like it's a good idea, but when you get into the details, it's not such a good idea.
Right.
So, if you really think about why most people start a podcast, it's not to do what they think that there's a market for.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to take on that much responsibility for paying back investors with their podcast. I know I have no real interest in doing that myself.
Right.
And why would I?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the point? And this is another example, Todd. Just not to keep hitting a dead horse, but a company and a product coming into a market, not understanding the market.
So
yeah.
So right. let me pick the right color here. All right, I'm going to bring up an image. So all I will say about Pod Fund is that when you are considering taking money, money comes with some strings. Actually, I don't call it a string. I call it they put a hook in you. They stab through your shoulder and hook your upper collarbone, and then they basically pull you. It's like, okay, so it's Friday. Hey, Todd, this is Joe over here at Pod Fund. I don't know what their names are. Hey, we're not seeing any growth on your show. What are you doing? How come you're not up in the game? You better get to work on that. And then you don't sleep all weekend.
Yeah. or you tend to go out and you start taking some desperate measures, right?
Right.
To grow your show and maybe buy a little audience on the side.
I saw a post in one of the podcast support groups. The guy goes, "Hey, I'm thinking about setting up a VNC to boost my download numbers." He actually said that in a podcast support group, and I was like, "Wow, this is good." So I replied. I said, "Yeah,
it's just a common industry practice."
Yeah, I said it's a good way to get banned from Apple. Number one, we're trying to get ranked up, and number two, to be banned and blacklisted for life for ad deals.
Right.
And they got it. That comment got about 30 smiley faces. So, I just money's okay. Don't get me wrong. We all love money, you know, and money allows you to do things. But don't, just like anything else, read the fine print and understand you're on the hook. You can't quit. You're going to have to do this show.
Pretty explicit, Todd. Investors will get paid back.
Oh, we'll get paid back if you quit. Is that what they said?
Yeah, well, we'll get paid back is all you have to hear from that. So
we'll get paid back.
It's not a grant. It's not a grant. It's not free money. They will take your firstborn. Just put it to you that way if they need to. So
please be careful, everyone.
Yeah. So
read the fine print. Now, if you're building a great audience, you could use the money and you want to take on a partner, and sometimes VCs are good because they bring connections. There's the other side of it. They bring connections. They bring, probably opportunities. So that if they're a good partner, they'll help you grow your show.
Right.
But they want their piece of meat.
Well, that plus, Todd, based on what I've heard and seen people comment on this whole thing, is it's actually how it feels like to me is that it's kind of like a loan almost.
I'd have to read the agreement.
Yeah, I would too, but it definitely has that kind of a feel to it.
Does someone actually see the agreement? Did someone see the?
Yeah, I just heard a comment that the investors will get their money back. So I don't know
it's the thing is, when you have a VC, they never always get their money back. For them to make a statement like that is very.
But emboldening. Is this really a VC that's doing this pod fund thing? Well, I think it's a good
$2.5 million.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
I guess we'll see. But be careful. Anyone that's
willing to lose their money, then
anyone that listens to this show, we don't even have to say this because we have in Hawaii we call akamai. Akamai means you're very aware. You're well knowing of what's going on. So we have a very akamai audience here. They already know these, and they're tuned in for the entertainment of Todd and Rob. But if Pod Fun is out there listening to this show, we'd love to have you come on. Tell us about your fun, how you're doing it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I did make an ask out to the CEO of Luminary to come on the show too in the next few weeks.
Awesome.
So we'll see if that happens, but and our production schedule is a little iffy for a while.
So did you hear that Parcast got $55 million from Spotify? Hey, Spotify. I have a bridge. Come on. Want to hear from you. $55 million. I've been talking with a variety of investors, bankers, a lot of bankers.
Yeah.
And they want to help you, of course. And then you see their terms and you're like, yeah, help me, helping you, right? So, you're talking to these bankers and these investors, and the conversation goes pretty good. And I always bring up, what did you think about the Spotify acquisition? I mean, what do you think about Spotify's acquisitions? And the commentary I've gotten, almost all the calls were kind of like almost giggling a little bit. So, but I asked him, I said, do you think, I said, I have a friend that's pretty well known in the space. He thinks this is a short-lived bubble. And a person, they have disagreed with our friend that said that they think this is a bubble. They think this is going to go on for 2 or 3 years. He says the space is too hot right now. There's too many people looking for content, looking for plays for it to cool down. He said everything is going to be a premium for the next 2 to 3 years. And I was like, wow. So I thought that was interesting.
Why just the next 2 to 3 years, Todd?
I don't know. Well, he says it's not going to be a 6-month run. It's the money's going to be spent in consolidation, and I kind of believe that as well. But,
yeah, I do. So, I do as well. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens here. What thing I was going to mention? What the heck was it? Slipped my tongue here. For a podcaster, that's not good.
On a new topic, or
something I was going to guess it's not important. It'll come to me here in a minute. It was just an ancillary thing I was thinking about. But so here we are, Rob. It is May. This year has proven to be pretty exciting already.
Yeah, there's always a lot of stuff going on.
And we don't see any slowdown in sales or nothing. Sales are booming. And at least as far as number of new podcasters coming on board. So it's a pretty exciting time for sure. So we'll see what happens during the doldrums of summer of June, July, August, which usually sees a little bit of slowdown. But last year we didn't see that.
Right. I don't know that it's going to slow down that much. So we shall see. I'm going to be down in Austin at the Outliers Podcast Festival late next week.
Yeah, Mackenzie will be there too. She's going down, and then I think I'm speaking in LA. I'll be at the Denver one as well.
Oh, okay.
So we'll be at both. We'll have representation at 3 of those. On one of those I'm speaking at. I think I'm speaking in LA.
Gotcha.
So that'll be a good event to attend. A little different group. Hopefully, some new people.
Right. And then Podcast Movement's coming up.
Of course. And then did you hear about this? There's a event down in Australia that's going on.
The Audiocraft.
Well, let me look here. Well, there's the one out. There's the audio conference in Berkeley again. And then let's see here. I got to bring the website up. I got to look at the ticket here. It is the. Let me look. Oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff that just keeps popping. Here we keep seeing a whole bunch of events. It's called the Indie Podfest. IndiePodfest.com. It's an event down in Australia. Around 200 people. So.
200 people.
Yeah. Not any opportunity. I asked her, is there an opportunity to come down and speak? She said no. So it's from the Pozible folks, Pozible. It's some project that they're running. So that's.
And I know that the Audiocraft event is going on down there. I believe it's in June.
Yeah,
late May, June.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to that. But I'd like to be able to scam myself a trip down to Australia. That'd be awesome. Anybody looking for someone to come down? Hello.
You've been down there recently.
Yeah, but I need the freaking flyer miles.
It's a good way to rack them up.
Oh, that's definitely a rack them up. So lots of stuff happening, and then of course, Podcast Movement in August. It's just this summer is going to go like that. Yeah. It really is. And then I'm going to be just crushed trying to get everything set up. My 20-foot container arrives next Monday, week from Monday. And I'll load it up. Kind of crazy.
And then everything's getting shipped, huh?
Yep. 21-day transit time is what they're telling me. So water, ocean, rail, and truck.
Wow.
And hopefully nothing happens and it doesn't get dumped in the ocean or the train derail or any craziness like that. So I'm sending, what I actually did is insurance fee was so crazy expensive.
Right.
I said, okay, let me take like the 20 most expensive things in the studio, the things that would just put me out of business if I lost, and I'm going to ship all those FedEx. And then that'll be an amount, but it's cheaper than what the insurance is. And everything else is replaceable from it would still hurt if we lost the load, but it's not going to be as painful. I can recover and stay online and do what I need to do with or without that gear. So I am shipping some stuff FedEx. Insured.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Primarily the TriCasters and cameras and that stuff.
The Edison folks came out with some new data on Canada.
Yeah, they keep spooling stuff out, don't they?
Yeah, they're constantly in the news cycle, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it says here, 18 plus. What is it? 36% of Canadians are now listening weekly to podcasts,
up from 28%.
Right.
And they also released the full results of Infinite DAO after webinar. 22% of Australians age 12 plus are monthly podcast listeners, compared to 32% in the United States.
Yeah.
And another group has released what's called the Midas study, and contains consumption trends for UK radio and podcasts, and say 14% of Brits 15 plus listen to podcasts every week. So,
right.
So what else? Spotify still continues to seem to be moving the needle here.
Yeah.
So let's go back to a topic we talked earlier in the show. So what are you guys going to do now that you're certified? You guys going to go out there and beat the bushes a little bit?
I don't know. I think just getting the word out about it, I think, is the big thing, right? What's next, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of making sure everybody knows and understands what it means and
the difference,
right? And what, from an advertiser perspective, I think that's the bigger thing, because I know a lot of the agencies are asking about it and would prefer to work with platforms that are certified.
Well, some, not most.
Really?
Oh yeah. They think compliancy is good enough. I'm just telling you. I mean, in all their offices. So
compliancy is good enough.
Good enough.
So how do they know if somebody is compliant?
Good question. But they take it on face value. It's good enough. This is where the problem lays. So I hope that, my advice to you, Rob, is go to your person that's going to those media meetings and doing the pitches to make sure that they are explicitly explaining the difference between certification and just being compliant.
Right. Which being compliant means nothing, actually. Right. So it should be a pretty short conversation.
It's not.
It's not, because they think compliance is compliance.
If a company says they're compliant, it's good enough for them.
So they're trusting that when somebody says compliance, they know what the heck they're talking about.
Yet their tech people shrug. So, no, I'm very much aware of the perception out there, and that's why I need more M1 battle tanks on the front line, explaining why certification is the key, why it matters.
Right.
Because believe me, I've been bloodied. My team's been bloodied over this conversation, trying to make these folks understand this.
Well, it doesn't help that certification is considered the same as compliance.
Right. You're certified to be compliant.
Right. Yeah. Which only confuses the matter, and we've talked about this many times.
Yes.
So how we get through that is
education.
Hard. Right.
And the more of us that are saying it, with Art 19 now saying it, with us saying it, with you saying it, with NPR saying it, and hopefully some more soon. Hopefully Libsyn gets done.
Right. Yeah.
There's
a few other platforms that need to get done too.
Yes.
For it to really be something that everybody says, yeah, that's the thing.
And there's a few that aren't going through either, which makes me curious on why. And maybe their hosting business is big enough they don't have to worry about becoming certified. Maybe their advertising part is so small that they figured it wasn't a worthy endeavor.
Anybody come to mind?
Well, we know Podbean's not going through certification. So,
we know that for sure.
There's been a list that was circulated on who was. I haven't seen any new names added to that list, but of course I haven't asked the IAB lately.
I haven't either.
So I know that one non-IAB member is going through. I wonder what they paid.
I heard, I think, didn't we hear that they're paying?
Is it $10K more?
As though they were an IAB member?
Oh, okay. So $10 to $11K more.
Right.
Depending on their ad revenue.
Right.
So I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
But I still have my predictions that there's going to be a shakeup in the space if and when one company gets certified. I still think there's going to be some nuclear reactive fallout. But the question is,
when one company gets certified?
Mm-hmm. Or if they get certified?
Which company might that be?
Not saying. I'll let you speculate.
Oh, okay. I think I know which one you're talking about.
So, we'll see. We'll see then if compliance matters.
Well, it will matter to a bunch of the shows that are part of their network, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And of course, then there are those that are not doing anything. So, what is the folks out on the West Coast doing? And what's that group doing? So, yeah, the more the better here soon. And that's going to help us all from a positioning standpoint when we talk to buyers and stuff. Because I'll be starting another round of, doing some trips probably late June, early July. And going out and pitching our deck.
So are you doing anything special at Podcast Movement
this year? We got a session, and Mike has a session, and then we're having something very, very cool we're going to do in our booth. So we've got a 10 by 20, and the one side of the 10 is going to be much fun. I'll just leave it at that. Be much fun.
Okay.
So those of you that are in attendance will, it'll be much fun.
So you're going to be creating some content over there, Todd?
We'll see. There's two different things. I'm not saying what we're doing. It's a good idea. But I noticed, here's the funny thing, Rob, is that we got a 10 by 20, and Dan must have used that as an upsell because
others got
10 by 20s too. Right. He didn't keep it secret. He said, Blueberry got a 10 by 20.
That's right. So, yeah, I think multiple companies got 10 by 20s.
Yeah. Did you guys get a 10 by 20?
Voxnest Spreaker did not.
Did not. Yeah, but Libsyn did. Simplecast did. Yeah, it was kind of funny to watch the look in the board of who did and who didn't. I was like, oh, that's entertaining. But
the Voxnest Spreaker is the key or main sponsor of the live stage.
Oh, okay. So we just did the silver this year. I'm almost afraid to see what the sponsorship rates are going to be next year. I think they're going to be much higher and may price us out of being able to do something.
Wow.
But I have to kind of talk about it. Did you see the She Podcasts media deck?
I did.
You want to comment?
It's an ambitious project.
Ambitious, yes.
Of course, I want to be. I mean, I obviously want to be supportive of that event and do what we can to support the efforts that are going on there, because it does appear that what's the term that was used to describe men can potentially attend
they
this
can
event?
attend. Yeah, they're open to men attending. You're just not going to speak in an official way. You can be at your booth or whatever, or go to the session. They're very open about it.
I think the term was something dangler of some sort.
Not going to go there. Nope. I like my job too much. I think that there were some ambitious numbers in that deck, and I'm just we were trying to figure out, okay, how do we support this and fit it into a budget?
Right.
That was my challenge.
Right.
To be quite frank.
But I think it's going to be an event that's really, really good for the medium. I mean, I think Jessica and Elsie have done a terrific job of pulling together a very large community of women podcasters. So this could wind up becoming one of the most significant events in podcasting, I think.
But there, in the same time, I'm a little frustrated. Not because of Chic Podcasts, but this may be the last year of the Podcast Awards.
Oh.
Very well could be. We're not getting sponsors, getting plenty of registration, but it seems to be that I'm continuing to be penalized because I run the Podcast Awards and I'm a podcast hosting owner. So even though it's not one and the same. So if we don't get any sponsors in there, then I'll just throw Blueberry stuff on there left and right and give it to them for free. But I'd hate to do that, but it might be what I end up doing. So.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, well, because, the iHeart Podcast Awards, the first podcast awards. I'm not bitter.
Right.
So it's okay. It's all good. It is what it is. If it's run its course, it's run its course.
Yeah. To be really frank about it, what's the psychology behind what's going on with that too, from the standpoint of, do podcasters, I'm asking a tough question here, but do podcasters generally pay attention to awards in this space? I mean, if you think about music and movies and TV and stuff, they have their award shows and it's this big to-do and everybody's excited about it, but it's something different about podcasting. People just don't get that jazzed about awards.
The way I look at it too is we rank so high on so many search terms on this page that typically we get about, the advertisers got about 3 million outbound clicks last year, and the podcasters themselves, there was probably 20 to 25 million outbound clicks on all of these shows that are listed. So if nothing else, the search engine drives traffic to the site, which in turn allows people to go look at these shows and subscribe to them. So I know we're driving subscribers. So, we give opportunity for people to subscribe right on the website. So, we've got Android, Apple Podcast, all that right there. People can just click and subscribe to a show. So I think that is, if nothing else, is the value of the awards itself. So, but again, maybe there's so many awards now, because there's the British awards, the Australian awards, and they're all backed by big groups with big budgets. And Todd does not have a big group or a big budget. The budget is registrations and sponsors. That's it. So.
I know you tried to hand it off to a entity like the the old New Media Show, which was a conference convention.
Yep. And they screwed it up.
And then they messed it up, right?
Yep.
Where else could that go? I know Podcast Movement used to have awards, but it appears that
they ran into the same problem, sponsorships.
Right.
Yeah, people, and they had a beautiful, red carpet. I mean, it was top notch. Something I would have always dreamed of being able to do, but you can't do something like that unless you've got a big budget. Right. You need $100,000 to do that. So we operate this thing on $6,000 and $7,000 worth of budget a year. So.
Oh, Todd, speaking of, not to change the subjects too much, but I did see a Medium post from Hank Green saying that PodCon is no more.
Are you surprised?
Not really.
Yeah, me neither.
Unfortunately, I would say the undoing of that event was self-inflicted. I mean, it had lots of people attending. They just struggled on the selling of sponsorships and selling booths, all that kind of stuff, because they didn't have consistent effort around it. I know lots of people reached out to them wanting to sponsor or get involved in the event, and emails would go months without being returned.
Yep.
So, Hank did say in his post that it was because there wasn't enough support in the industry for that event, and I had to differ with him. I posted a comment back on Twitter saying, I think that the industry was ready and wanting to support your event. It's just that you weren't accessible.
Right. Their team was horrible on communications.
And you weren't embracing of the broader podcast community.
Right.
So, to have that event go down in flames and somehow blame the podcast community for that is not accurate.
And there was a lot of good old boy club going on there too.
Right. I mean, it was a fan event.
Right.
I'll give it to them for that. But it felt at times like that's what the event was a fan event for their friends and their friends' shows.
Right.
And that, if you want to build a successful, broad-based, broad-reaching event, that's not what you do.
So I guess She Podcast is going to step in and take up the slack for another event.
I mean, it's too bad because that PodCon name.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
Could have been a terrific event for the podcasting community, and it was perfectly timed to be 6 months off from Podcast Movement, different part of the country. I mean, it had all the elements that it needed. It just needed to have a staff that could actually execute.
Right.
And it didn't have it.
That's true.
Which is surprising because it was the same core group that created VidCon, which we know is a very successful event down in Los Angeles.
Massive.
And has done really well, but it isn't the same team though. So that was the big thing. This was like a pet project. But I just wanted to be very clear out there that the failure of that event is not a reflection of a failure on the part of the podcasting space or the podcasting community. I just wanted to put that out there and put my stake in the ground, because I know I put a lot of energy and effort into promoting PodCon myself.
Yep.
And it was, every year it was a disappointment.
And I looked at the amount of business we generated from that event, and it was dismal.
Right.
So, you don't dump money into something that is not giving you a financial return as a company as well. Largely going there to wave the flag and saying, we're here, we're alive, we're in business. But that only goes so far. You have to generate new business.
Right.
And
so I just wanted to clear the air on that one, because people are going to be asking about that. What happened to PodCon?
Mm-hmm.
So. And also, I also heard that Pod Summit up in Central Canada is not going to be coming back next year either.
What's the reason for that? Did you hear?
The organizer up there has been wishy-washy about doing another event every year. So I think that it just came down to the point where he just didn't want to spend more time on it.
It's a lot of work to do these events.
It is. I'm not saying that it isn't. I mean, these are very challenging events to put on. I mean, hats off to Dan and Jared for what they've pulled off with Podcast Movement. It's not easy.
And I'm playing with doing just a small event, 30, 40, 50 people, you know, and doing a weekend type thing, and it's more training than anything else. But just to be honest with you, the thought of doing it, first of all, how much can we charge? Can we actually sell enough tickets to make it worth it? Right. Do I go to this effort and put in countless hours to have 25 people show up? Right. So, I think what the Sheep Podcast folks did was good on doing a Kickstarter. So maybe that's the thing to do if you're, thinking about doing an event and that you need 50 people to come to attend or to buy tickets. Then you set the goal as 50 and you put the Kickstarter out there and you explain what it is. And if you make the goal, then you do the event. And if you don't, the interest isn't there. So maybe that's what I'll end up doing. But it's going to be, it's basically my boot camp that I've done in years past. So, but again, people that listen to the show probably don't need the boot camp because they are already podcasters.
Right. I want to be clear. Pod Summit is happening this year.
Oh, it is happening this year.
The new event is happening this year. It's just subsequent years he's chosen not to pursue it.
Why doesn't he turn it over to someone to do it?
Well, I asked him that question. I said, so it's a terrific name. It's another one of those events that has a terrific name. Mm-hmm. Pod Summit or PodCon, either one of those could be turned into be a off 6-month event from Podcast Movement. Doesn't have to be in Canada. It could be
could be anywhere.
But the next version of Pod Summit is coming up June 22nd up in Calgary. So it is actually happening in this year, but it's just not coming back in 2020.
Well, there might be some domain name purchasing ability there, someone to scoop that up.
Yeah, I guess the question gets back to is who could jump in on that one and make a go of it.
Yeah. So I guess I'll ask this audience if, and I don't want to pitch here because I've done an event, I've done the Corporate America I haven't done it in probably 3 or 4 years, where it's basically a 2-day, well, actually I used to do corporate 3-day, but this would be a 2-day fire hose event where we take you from Podcast 101 all the way through basically expert strategies and stuff like that. So if there was a 2-day event and again, purely fire hose training, would you come to Columbus for 2 days for that event, a Friday, Saturday, or a Saturday, Sunday? And how much would you pay for that? So if you're listening, I just can trying to get put my finger in the air and see if it would be worth doing it. Or does it have to be in a different location? Does it have to be somewhere more fun where you can tie something into it? So I'm kind of open, but it would probably take me a month's worth of work to get ready for that. And if I'm only going to have, 10 people show up, it's not worth it.
Right.
So.
Right.
But again, it would require travel, airfare, hotel. But show you a good time, I guess.
Yeah. Certainly would.
So we are at an hour 34. We made it here, even though you were a little bit sleepyhead this morning, Rob.
Yes. The old alarm clock didn't help me out.
Yeah, well, that's why they have these cool things called mobile devices, and the ability to set an alarm on them is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Of course, I've overslept a couple times too, so I'm just.
rattle in my cage.
Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, big change coming here. One more show here, New Media Show, live show, video show from the Proverbial Studios in Honolulu, or my 10 by 12 Cludio, or not Cludio, but it's Clubio. It's a bedroom, and we'll be tearing the set down as such it is, and we'll be able to see all the dust balls behind the walls that I haven't been able to get to for years. So that should be fun. But
you're gonna reassemble it again, sometime in June, I would imagine.
Yeah, we'll see, because I'm going to be busy, so it's going to be a work in progress. If anybody's in striking distance of Coldwater, Michigan, and you want to volunteer, and you're good with a hammer, let me know. I might need some help in building a new studio.
Right.
I just my sister sent me a bunch of pictures of what this space looks like, and it's big. So we're going to have no problem with space. We're going to like probably 20 times the size of what I have right here. So it's massive.
Well, you're going to have another twit on your hands there, huh? Do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
huh?
But it's not going to be twit. I don't have the budget of twit. I don't have a bunch of bricks to sell like Twit did. It's I'm going to have to stay within my budget and build it out slow. But here's the beauty of it. You don't even see beyond this anyway, so you really don't have to have too much expense. You just got to make it look presentable, and it, I might actually go to a stand-up. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, that's it for now. We'll be back here next Saturday for the last video show out of Honolulu. And then immediately following the show, I start ripping wires out of gear. Should be fun.
All right.
But Rob, thanks for their time. And everyone, thanks for being here. And if you have comments on today's show, you can send it to me, Todd@blueberry.com, or at Geek News on Twitter. Rob?
I can be found on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee. You can send me an email, rob@robgreenlee.com. That would be fantastic.
And subscribe. Yes, right. Subscribe and tear it from my dirty hands. Yes, subscribe. Please do so. Do that on the newmediashow.com website. Show your loyalty. If you want to send us a few bucks, that would be great too. There's a PayPal donation link there. I think we've gotten a total of like $25 donations. So podcasters are great donators. And I'm just joking with you guys. Don't beat me up. Thanks, everyone, for being here and being part of our small Ohana. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.